Welcome to my rundown of UFC 239, John Jones versus Thiago Santos. And I'm going to just particularly talk about one match here because I don't want to take up a whole lot of time, but this seems to be turning out to be a good card. We got highlight some of the fights here. Diego Sanchez versus Michael Chiesa. Chiesa's been looking really awesome in the last few fights, but as we know, Diego Sanchez is always a force to be reckoned with. So expect some fireworks in that fight. We get to see Luke Rockhold fight, which I can't remember the last time I've seen him fight, but I know it's been a while. He says he's coming in shape, and we'll see how it goes down. I just finished watching some of the face-offs. It seems that, I don't know, we'll just see what happens in that fight. I'll put it that way. Got Ben Askren and Jorge Masvidal. Unique thing about this, watching Ben Askren up into the fight and a lot of his interviews and things, he's referring to Jorge Masvidal as George. It's almost like he's trying to manifest George St. Pierre, like he's talking about him in a roundabout way. Because when he first started talking about the fight was coming up, I didn't know who his opponent was. I didn't know it was actually Jorge Masvidal. I thought it was actually a guy named George something else. So that's one of the things that grabbed my attention. Expect some fireworks over in that fight. I don't know, Askren, we know, is a tough wrestler. If it goes to the ground, it'd be a very interesting matchup. I think we know who has it on the feet. Jorge Masvidal has an advantage on the feet, a little unorthodox at times. Next fight we got coming up is Amanda Nunes versus Holm. It's going to be an awesome fight of movement. We know Holly fights from the outside. Amanda Nunes, a power striker, looking to close the distance and land some heavy blows. Can she walk down Holly? Can Holly keep her on the outside and pick her apart? Going to be a great contest there. And now we get into the main event of John Jones versus Thiago Santos. And I want to go back a little bit on the history of John Jones. If you know the competition he's had coming in through the UFC, you've seen him come in, you've seen him violently attack his opponents, get his opponents on the ground, throw elbows from the top position to win his fights. His first, I think it's 4 or 5 fights in the UFC. I know he had the TKOs by the elbows, and it seemed to be his pattern to come in, put people on the ground, and finish them via elbows from the top position, and that's what got him the disqualification with Matt Hamill. And that's the only loss reflecting on his record in the UFC. And since he captured the title belt of the light heavyweight division, we've seen him sit back and pick people apart to get to his win. Some of the most aggressive fighters that we've seen him contested against is Cormier. Cormier moved forward in the fight. Some of the other fighters didn't move as forward. You know, they weren't as aggressive as I thought they were going to be. They kind of sat back, and when they stood in front of Jones, it was like they were almost hypnotized, and it was like they're planted in concrete and couldn't move very well. But we look at the light heavyweight division. Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes. It's pretty much 2 fighters in the top 5 that Jones hasn't faced yet. So after Santos, I don't know where Jones has to go after this, or if he moves up to heavyweight, because we got like people like Volkan Ozdemir, Corey Anderson. You go down to Latifi, Glover Teixeira. There's Johnny Walker. Shogun is ranked at 15. Daniel Cormier is still ranked at number 1. Do they do that fight a third time? I think the fans want to see it. I think that's the fight to make next. And you can call me looking ahead, but I'm already looking ahead at the next fight because looking at Thiago Santos' fights, I know he's on a 4-fight win streak. And judging by the way he won those fights, he's got some heavy hands. You know, if he gets a hold of you, he definitely has the knockout power. But you look at who he's fighting, and everybody that stood in front of Jones looks at their win as they're going to knock him out or they're going to finish him. Are they coming into the fight against Jones? Are they strategizing against Jones? Are they thinking of the duration of the fight? Or are they spending 5 rounds just looking for a knockout shot? I think that's a mistake from a lot of people. They get in there and just look for the knockout shot. How many overhand rights, overhand left hooks has John Jones dodged over his career? How many has he survived? Who has actually stumbled him in a fight? I don't think anybody's ever hit him flush, but you're looking for that one-shot knockout in the matter of 5 rounds. Will that work for Santos? From what I've seen him do, he has the power, he has the abilities. Will he have the opportunity? Would Jones give him the opportunity? I seriously doubt it. Jones is a really smart fighter. When he comes into the fight, he stands in front of his opponents, he analyzes them, he lets them exert themselves, and he's very responsive and can adapt to different situations inside the fight. Makes him really dynamic, makes him hard to get a read on, because he's not the conventional type fighter. And that's one of the things one of the reasons I think he stays on top is he's able to diversify his game and be more a counter fighter now, rather than somebody that goes out there and recklessly attacks his opponent. If he attacks Santos too aggressively, we may see him fall. Will we see him get knocked out? I think that's something that you have to watch, find out for yourself on Saturday night. And let me backtrack a little bit. We see highlights of Santos fighting Anthony Smith. That fight happened February 3rd of 2018. It wasn't a recent fight. And we know Anthony Smith was Jones's last opponent. And Santos has that win over Smith. He has a win over Branch, over Holland, over Anders, and over Manoa. Out of those names that I listed, whose name do you recognize besides Santos? You probably recognize Manoa's name. So, has he beat those fighters in the top 15, or is he just the next person that's left that Jones hasn't fought? So we'll see if Thiago Santos steps up this Saturday night. But that's all the facts I got for you now. It's how I'm feeling, after watching some of the activities off of YouTube for the UFC. Tune in. Also, let me know your thoughts. Leave me comments. And this goes without saying, like, share, subscribe to the podcast. I appreciate every one of you listening. And I'll catch you next time on Mega Talks.